Greetings, magical souls. I have something a little bit different to share with you today. The other morning, I climbed back into bed, and what I sometimes do is I open the curtains and I like to lie in the sun because it's still a bit cold here in New Zealand. But what I did was I opened the patio door a little bit and I just cracked the curtain just a little bit. And what happens is as the sun comes in, it generally is quite blinding. So I hide a little bit behind the duvet. Anyway, as I was lying there and the sun felt like it was coming in, I kept getting nudged to look beyond the duvet, look beyond the duvet. And so I did. I took a finger and I just expecting like the sun to like just sort of in my eyes. And oh my word. All I can say is that what I experienced was extraordinary. And it appeared that as this sliver of sunlight or this corridor of sunlight, as I was looking at it, it wasn't blinding, but it was enough for me to see that what was coming into me was not just dust, it was alive. And in my meditations, I often, sort of start with breathing in golden light from the universe around us. And this dust that was coming in felt like that golden light. It was so dense and so heavy with these golden particles that are not evident in this video. What's evident in what you are seeing here are the other particles within this golden dust that were orbs, orbs and other things. But the point is that this golden dust that was flying towards me, it just kept coming and coming and coming almost until the room was like full. And then all of a sudden, some of these orbs started to go in different directions, move at different speeds. And before I grabbed my phone, I was sitting there watching this and I could feel the presence of all these beings. I was filled with so much joy and so much delight and wonder that I was giggling in my bed, just going, oh my word, like what kind of magic is this? And it was utterly incredible. And wow, the more I seem to engage with and look at some of these sort of bigger and different colored orbs that were coming towards me, the more and more they seemed to react to me noticing them. I was called to grab my camera because I all of a sudden had this thing in my head, like when people photograph the auroras, that sometimes they can see the auroras beautifully, but when they look through their camera lens or when they look afterwards at the photographs, there is so much more than what their physical eyes could see. Now, unfortunately, the camera did not capture the golden dust that all these orbs in. I mean, if I tell you that the air was thick, if anybody's been walking in the morning and maybe you've been walking through mist and you can actually feel your face getting wet, and as you breathe in that water vapor, you can almost feel the water coating your nose and going down the back of your throat. This was what this air was like. It was so thick. And what was so intriguing for me is if you're watching this footage now, there are parts where you can actually see the camera is trying to focus on the orbs. It keeps sort of going out of focus. And I mean, that's what's so fascinating is the camera was picking up the movement, these tiny, tiny little movements. Anyway, so what I did is I created some stills from this video, and I'm going to share those now. They're a little bit tricky to see because obviously they're quite small and I've tried to blow them up just to illustrate. But we all know that we are energy, frequency, and vibration. So whether or not you can see what I'm trying to tell you, these beings and these images have an energy. They have captured the energy of these little beings that were with me on this beautiful, magical morning. So I'm going to share them anyway. I just it's incredible because the particles, as I said, some of them started to move differently, different speeds, different directions. Some appeared to drift, some appeared to drop, some came at a huge speed, some were blinking in and out, some were brighter than others, some were slightly elongated, some were rounder, some were more hexagonal. And some are even, when I looked closely at them, I could see the sacred geometry in them. They were like little snowflakes, or almost like oscillating balls of sacred geometry. And yet others looked like stars, like the stars when people have filmed those stars with those really potent cameras, and they almost look like oscillating orbs of energy. Um, but they were the colors. I mean, there was aqua, there was green, there was gold, there was red, there were pink. Some even looked like little stingrays, where I could see the body in one color and almost like these little wings or these fins in another color. And it was like a mist of living light. It was conscious and aware of being seen. And some of these little stills, I can see faces in them. Some of them I can see, one looked like a praying mantis. Others were fairy-like. Others I could just see eyes. Others I could see smiling faces. There were some that looked like little crabs. It was just absolutely, and I know these images are not easy to see, but I'm sharing with you what I was experiencing just so that you can just sit back and receive the energy. I want to share this because I feel like we need to acknowledge that perhaps the air around us, well, we know that it's not just empty space, but this is like a whole nother level. This is the other thing. When I spoke just now about the mist, what's really interesting for me is that I have had a hypnotherapy session where I thought I was going to be riding with dragons, but imagine my surprise when a being from my home planet came in and was in the session with me. Now, a lot of people talk about Palladians, Syrians, Orions, or whatever it is. And sometimes in the pictures that I've seen, they're depicted as these blue beings. But they kind of look like this, or they might have different hair, or they might have no hair. But what I'm meaning by they look like us is they're slightly humanoid, but they are solid. And when I had this hypnotherapy session, this being that approached me, I couldn't work out what it was until I looked at it. And it was 7 foot tall, and it was this aqua blue color. But at first I thought it was like water, like a waterfall that had formed into this slightly humanoid shape. But then I realized it was like a gel. And then I realized that what it was plasma. And there's a lot of talk at the moment about plasma being the fourth state of water. When I was lying there thinking about this, and I thought, because so many of these orbs, as they were coming towards me, I almost got the sense that they were like plasma. And it made me think about the fact that sometimes, what do they, when we donate blood and stuff, what do they also say they need? Plasma. What do they separate from our blood, supposedly? So I'm starting to think that this fourth phase of water, we keep talking about how important the water is. We know there's supposedly waters above us for those that believe that we're in some kind of like sort of containment field. And I'm not talking about flat earth and whatever. I'm talking about the fact that the mystics believed that there were waters above us. And that's why we see the stars the way we do and things like that. I don't know what is or isn't, but it's fascinating for me because this thing with plasma, this sort of fourth state of water, what if that is really this empty space, supposedly this that's in the universe, where they say that the universe is 99% empty space? what if it's filled with plasma? When the ancients spoke of the sort of these waters above, or the firmament, and it's more like, for me, as I say, this isn't about flat earth. This is about this. We all know that earth has been in this sort of containment field, or this, whatever it is. And a lot of us believe that earth is actually, there's a portion of earth that is just under this containment field, that the planet is actually much bigger than what we know it to be. And I mean, that's not really what this discussion is about, but the mystics believed that this water, the water above us and around us, and that was in everything, was literally like the womb of creation. And if we think about the fact that we live in the universe, but we are also the universe in physical form, like the universe is within, as it also is without. I mean, this is just taking on a whole new level of magic. And I wondered, could this be what we are truly breathing? It's perhaps, what if it's more than oxygen? What if these are the golden waters of spirit? And and you think about water. Water's made of two hydrogen particles to one oxygen. What if oxygen's not all we're breathing in? What if we're, I mean, this is just fascinating. It really got me going. I was thinking back to when we were in the womb and how we're okay with being in water. So there's a whole lot to unpack here, but it's weird because all of this was just running through my head as these beings were circling around me, and I was holding my camera just hoping that something would be recorded. But actually, like all of these things were ruminating around in my head as I was I don't know whether they were giving me, I don't know whether it was just my mind going to all these places, or whether these were sort of little nuggets that were being imparted to me by these beings. I can't work it out. I was really in such a state of bliss and awe and wonder that I actually don't even really quite remember how much my brain was involved and how much it wasn't, to be very honest. So, just returning back to the footage for a moment, what I've really come to realize is that the air around us is perhaps not empty. But more than that, it's a conscious field. And it is shimmering and just waiting for us to notice it. Every breath that we take is almost, rather than a breath of air, it's like a sip of this cosmic water light. In this, the way that the sun came through my door, that was how I had to capture this. I wouldn't have seen it any other way. But every ray of sunlight reveals that we are not separate from source, and that we live inside a living body of light. I mean, I know we know that we live in the universe, but guys, I can't find the words to impart to you just exactly what I was feeling as this light was all around me. I was breathing it in. It was settling on my skin. It was just, it was such a wonderful experience. And this was very different from being in a dream or coming back to that sort of, I often say I was in that sort of a 5D space, or that other space where I come back and I'm so blissful, and I go, oh my word, wow. And I love everything and everybody for like, 48 hours, and then kind of the 3D settles back in, and then it's back to, here I am. But this was while I was awake. I was filming it. I was interacting with it. I was giggling. I could feel the presence of all these beautiful beings, and I could feel the presence of this this womb of creation that we live in, that we know we live in, that we know we're a part of. We know that that spark lives within us, within our heart space. I just, oh, I don't have words. But anyway, I wanted to share this because it is so magical. The other thing I wanted to mention is that after I put the camera down, I thought, have I really lost my marbles? And what I did is I actually shook the duvet because we all know what dust looks like. And I shook the duvet up around me and I watched the dust come up from the duvet. And if I can tell you that that dust looked completely different, they were just like little particles. They were all kind of going at the same speed. They were all floating around. I had obviously little cat hairs and all sorts of other things, maybe my own hair and all sorts of other things in the dust that I had shaken up from the duvet. But what I'm trying to get at is that the dust did not look like what was coming in, what I had been interacting with. So, and I mean, it was so weird because I sat there and I thought, oh, I think this is just dust and I'm imagining this. And anyway, but no. And the thing that I found so fascinating is that I don't know if any of you have seen Diana Cooper's oracle card deck called Orbs. And so many of these things, when I look in them, as I say, they're not very good on screen here because of the resolution. But when I was looking at them like in real time, and also afterwards when I was stilling the video, and I'd also taken a couple of pictures, but I was stilling the video and zooming in. I could see the orbs that some of them, like Diana Cooper's, got on her orb cards. And these are the things that people often capture on camera when they're out in nature. And these are our nature spirits or angels or elementals, or they are pure energy. That's how we perceive them here. But this was just a whole nother level. The interesting thing is that when I zoom in, I can see different creatures' faces. I see eyes and mouths. I see laughter. I see fun. And it's as if when you look without your mind, you just see the magic. And as I mentioned, even before I got my camera out and whatever, I knew that there were beings here. I could feel them. But initially, I thought that they were perhaps fairies. But I saw so many creatures in these stills, and I'm still not able to quite articulate this experience. We've always been told that the air around us is empty space. So my question for you today is, what if it isn't empty at all? What if it's alive with not only consciousness, but with codes, with blueprints that we can't usually see? This was the next level. In this one photo, I noticed something even more extraordinary, almost like circuit boards of light woven around the orb, and even the faint outlines of dragon faces. And it reminded me of the times I've seen hidden beings appear in forest photos or markings upon fish deep in the ocean that almost look like living codes. And this made me wonder if what we call empty space is actually a dense living field full of information, guardians, presences, again, only waiting for our awareness to notice them. And perhaps it may be the moment we start to look with curiosity instead of dismissal. That is when the field opens itself to us, and that is when it shows itself to us. And I'm reminded of the quote, and all of you know that I say this often, and it is on my website, but it's the last part of that Roald Dahl quote. And the quote was, "Those who don't believe in magic will never find it." And isn't this just the truth? And I'm also reminded of even in Peter Pan, when Tinkerbell reminded us that belief is what keeps the magic alive. These aren't just stories. They're the truth hidden in plain sight. They're reminders. They've been here all along. The field around us is alive. It's filled with wonders just waiting for us to notice. And the more we believe, the more we see. The more we look with curiosity, the more the invisible reveals itself. So maybe the greatest secret is this: our belief doesn't just change what we notice, it changes what can exist for us at all. And I leave you with that because I don't believe that this is new. I believe that this is ancient. We are just remembering. We are part of this field. We are part of these beings. And I wanted to share this magic today because in sharing the magic and in believing it, we all know that our imagination creates our reality. So if we start, I know a lot of people out there go, yeah, I believe in fairies. And I'm asking you to just really tune into that and go, are you just saying that? Is it something that you're doing again? I keep talking about how we've known these things mentally, how we've, but do you really, really, really believe in here, in your heart of hearts, in the fairies, in the dragons, the unicorns, the magic, the beings, the stellar family? How deeply do you believe? How deeply do you feel that? Not just know it up here, like, yeah, I like fairies, I know them, I've seen them, I felt them, but really, really, this is key. Again, it's the embodiment of your belief. It's not just a mental, like, yeah, I know that to be true. No, I feel it to be true. I feel it through every fiber of my being. I feel these beings. I feel this magic. I know for it to be true. This is how we change our world. I hope that your inner child is dancing and has been awakened in a whole new way, just like mine was after this experience. I am forever changed by this experience. I just I don't have the words, and I hope that I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm getting tearful again about just the feeling of this experience, which I can't quite convey, but hopefully as I'm sitting here feeling this, it is somehow conveyed to everybody watching this video. But this magic lives, that I had around me, lives within each and every one of us. And it is time to really, 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 and truly awaken your magic. It's just waiting to dance with all of the magic that is around us. This is heaven on earth. This is the magical realm that we want to live in. It is already here. It's already here. We just got to believe it and we will see it. So, thank you so much for watching. As always, thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments. Please comment also if you've had one of these like outrageous experiences that you may have kept to yourself because you thought that somebody might have palmed you off as crazy. I know I'm crazy, but that's okay. So, sending you so much love and wishing you a magical rest of your day wherever you are. Go out and find something, find some creature, open up and say, who wants to show themselves to me today? I am here. I am curious. I would love to meet you, and just see what happens. Allow the magic to unfold. Thank you.